From floor plans to finishing touches, function to the feeling you get walking into a room. I'm Ashley Morgan, an interior designer with a love for beautiful living and a belief that great design should tell your story. I've spent over 20 years in the industry, and now I'm pulling back the curtain on interiors, sharing insight, inspiration, and the strategy behind well-designed spaces. Expect smart design talk, refined tips, and just the right mix of polish and personality. So pour something sweet and join me for a thoughtful conversation with a generous helping of charm and circumstance. Welcome back to Charm and Circumstance. I'm Ashley Morgan, your host from Ashley Morgan Interiors. And today we're going to talk about custom furniture. Have you ever walked into a beautiful room and thought everything just feels right? The sofa isn't too big or too small. The dining chairs fit perfectly under the table. The bed feels substantial without overtaking the room. The proportions are perfect. Well, here's a secret that most people don't know. Most of those items weren't bought off a showroom floor. Today, we're talking about custom furniture, what it is, why interior designers rely on it so heavily, and perhaps most surprising of all, why ordering furniture through a designer can actually save you money. Yes, that's what I said, save you money. So when people hear the term custom furniture, they often imagine a master craftsman hand carving a chair over 6 months while charging the price of a luxury car. Sometimes that actually does exist. But in the design world, custom furniture usually means something much more practical. So it can mean custom sizing, which would be just overall dimensions of a chair, maybe adjusting the depth of the seating or adjusting the height of the armrest. It could be adjusting the diameter of an ottoman, and then custom upholstery. And of course, this means that every fabric in the whole world is available for us to use on any of these upholstered pieces. And so that means, of course, each of these manufacturers has their own running line. Sometimes they don't, but oftentimes they do, of fabrics that we can choose from and put together. But if we don't go with something that is in their line, we can go with what's called COM, which stands for Customer's Own Material. And so you may hear that as designers talk about such things. And that just means that we are ordering a fabric from somewhere else that we think is perfect for this piece. We are having that fabric manufacturer ship it to the furniture manufacturer, and they are going to upholster their furniture with it. Custom finishes is another aspect of custom furniture. So this is going to be a stain or paint on like wood furniture. So this would be, like all the lacquered tables that you see nowadays, or it's the wood stain on a cocktail table, or just the wood stain on the legs of a sofa. Something very important is custom cushion fills. So cushions are made in different ways. They can be very firm cushions. They could be very soft cushions, much like you're used to with selecting a mattress. And seat cushions, as well as back cushions, come in all of these options. And so this comes into play when you have a client who says, I want it to be like sitting on a cloud, and I don't want to sink in and it to be that soft. Or you could have somebody who prefers the much firmer, more supportive cushions. This would especially come into play with people who would have a harder time getting up out of a chair. Then you really pay attention more to getting that firmer cushion. So all of those cushion types are available to us as well, and we can specify which type we want on which piece of furniture. Then there's custom details, like nail head trim or welting, the edge of the cushion, or tufting the tufts in like the back of a cushion, or even the seat of a cushion. And then, of course, different trims at the bottom hem or anywhere else for that matter on upholstered furniture. So think of custom furniture less like commissioning a sculpture and more like tailoring a suit. You're starting with a proven design and adjusting it to fit perfectly. So, why do designers love custom furniture? The biggest reason is simple. Rooms are not standard sizes, but most furniture is. For example, the sofa that's 6 inches too long, the sectional that blocks traffic flow, the dining table that's too small for the room, the king bed that makes a bedroom feel cramped. Designers are constantly solving spatial puzzles. Custom furniture allows us to solve those puzzles precisely. Good design isn't about filling the room, it's about fitting a room. The difference that custom furniture makes is best explained with this picture. Imagine 2 identical living rooms. So in the first room, everything was purchased from retail stores. In the second, the sofa was shortened by 4 inches, the chairs were slightly deeper, and the coffee table was scaled specifically for the seating arrangement. Most people wouldn't immediately identify why the second room feels better. They'd simply describe it as more expensive, more polished, or more comfortable. The key point here is that the difference isn't necessarily the furniture itself, it's the proportion. So many different elements come into play in making these decisions with custom furniture. And so scale is one of those. That is a key element of design and architecture. And that is making everything proportional, really. And so like not having a sofa that overwhelms a room because the scale of the sofa is just much too large for the room. Balance would be another element. And so again, this is allowing there to be a very comfortable balance in the room so that one piece of furniture isn't just hogging all the oxygen in the room. Comfort, again, going back to simple things like the seat cushion fill or the depth of a sofa. You know, there's a big difference between a 5-foot woman and a 6-foot, 4-inch man sitting in a chair and what feels comfortable to them. So oftentimes as designers, we are trying to figure out, all right, how do we make this married couple both comfortable on the same sofa or in the same seating arrangement or maybe in the same room only? And maybe the sofa is designed more for his scale and a chair is designed for her scale. And so that is all the details that get to go into custom furniture. Functionality is obviously very important as furniture is typically, unless you have a room that is just there to appreciate and not to actually live in, then functionality is always going to be key when it comes to furniture. So that could be things like allowing storage in an ottoman. So it's pulling double duty. Or it could be a chaise seating piece at the end of a sectional. And then longevity. Obviously, this is important, especially when you are investing this much in working with a designer and investing in quality furniture. It needs to last. And I strongly believe that if you're hiring me as an interior designer to work on your home, of course, you're expecting quality furniture, like the best quality. And that is what I am going to provide for you. There is definitely a range among the manufacturers that we have accessible to us in terms of the quality of the pieces. And so I was actually just having this discussion the other day about if I had a client that came to me and said, you know what, this room isn't going to last, doesn't need to last this long. And our budget for furniture is only this amount. And so we don't want to invest a bunch in there. And like that was their direction to me for their own personal reasons. Then I would be willing to say, okay, well, I can offer you, this at this price. You're not getting the best hardware, like hinges. Especially, it's always hinges or just like the mechanical features of any sort of case goods piece. And then upholstery furniture, that's going to be how it's made. Is it an 8-way spring-tied seat or is it something else? It's details like this. And then, of course, the fabric quality as well can definitely play into that. So, one of the biggest myths I think that is out there about custom furniture is that it's always more expensive. Sometimes it is, but not always. So, when you walk into a furniture store, and not every furniture store, there are definitely ones that are not ordering from the same manufacturers that I am, for example. And instead, they are importing all of their upholstered goods, like everything, and it's just of a lower quality. However, there are furniture stores that are ordering from the same manufacturers that I am. They're going to the same furniture market that I am. The difference is their business model is set up to be very different. So they are holding inventory. They are going to the market and they are ordering this piece with this fabric and this piece with this fabric, and they don't have that specific customer in mind yet, right? They are ordering these pieces. They're made, they're shipped and put on their showroom floor until the right person comes along and scoops it up. But they're making those decisions beforehand. The length of the sofa, the fabric, all of the things based on what they think is going to sell from their retail floor. Whereas as a designer, I am not building inventory. I am going to that manufacturer after I have the client, after I know exactly what I want, that I need a sofa that is exactly this wide, this deep, this high, with a cushion fill and a contrast welt cord and walnut legs on casters with a box pleat skirt. All these details that I get to then dictate in that custom design specifically for that client. So we're doing the same thing, we're just doing it different ways. So instead of you going into the retail store, choosing the sofa that best meets your needs, but it doesn't quite. And you would really, really love to have that tape trim along the bottom of the hem of the sofa that they have on that retail floor. So you have it picked up and then taken over to the upholsterer that's local to you, and you now have to purchase that tape trim and you have that added to the piece. At this point, you are definitely spending more than if you had just worked with a designer and ordered that piece exactly how you wanted it from the beginning. So does that make sense? I hope it does. A little more into the benefits of ordering through a designer versus going to a retail store and trying to find exactly what you're wanting. All right, so now let's talk about the surprising way that clients actually save money by working with an interior designer. One of the biggest misconceptions in interior design is that hiring an interior designer automatically means paying more for furniture. This is not true at all. In reality, many designers have access to trade-only manufacturers and pricing that is not available to the public. So that's why you will see there are retailers who sell both to the public and to the trade. And when they do that, they are selling, of course, at more of a discount to the trade. There are many vendors who do not sell to the public whatsoever. And those are the bigger ones that we tend to work with. And so they are offering that furniture at a much, much more discounted rate than what it is wholesale, like what they expect the retail price for it to be. And so you are typically not dealing with designers. I know I do not do this, who will mark up that material to that full MSRP pricing. And so that means you are saving on that furniture by ordering it through the interior designer. And you're not only saving, but it's actually a custom piece because you're getting all the exact details that you want. Again, the depth of the seating, the cushion fill, the arm style, the exact fabric, the exact trim, the exact skirt, the exact welt cord, all those things. And so you are getting better quality for similar pricing. There's also another benefit to working with an interior designer and ordering furniture, and it's that there are fewer costly mistakes. Hopefully none, but I'm going to say fewer. And this is simple things like furniture has to get moved through doorways typically. And there are a lot of gigantic sectionals specifically out there that, people want moved into their basement. Well, that is not something that is really easy to do when you're dealing with stairways or 3-foot wide doors, which is the standard exterior door width, all of these details. And so an interior designer in ordering furniture and making those decisions is also going to be looking at means of egress and how they can get the furniture into the room that it needs to be in, and if it's possible, or if it needs to be handled a certain way. I mean, there are times when furniture is taken apart and then built back together inside a room because that's the only way to do it. So there's ways around it, but they're not ideal. And so you want to know about those issues before the furniture is delivered, because a sofa that fits correctly the first time is much cheaper than replacing one that never worked. We've all heard stories of homeowners who purchase a sofa either on a showroom floor or online, waiting for months and then bringing it home, being so excited and finding out it dominates the room. And now they're stuck. And going custom and working with an interior designer is exactly how you avoid that. So again, just to touch on all the aspects that can be customized, which is really quite unlimited. And so again, some of these examples are the sofa length, the sofa depth, the seat firmness, the cushion construction, of course, the fabrics or the leathers, the wood stain, the wood type, actually, the arm style, a skirt and the skirt type. Is it a waterfall skirt? Is it a box pleat skirt? It can be exposed legs. They could be on casters or they could not be on casters, which are the little wheels at the bottom of the legs. Dining table dimensions. Is it a pedestal table? Is it a 4-leg table? Headboard height, or actually the whole design of the headboard for that matter. Bench length, ottoman. Some manufacturers offer hundreds, and it could even be thousands, really, of fabric options and dozens of configurations. And so, the fabrics are just never ending. And my sample library proves that. And so there just anything that you could think of, it's out there. So when is custom furniture really worth it? Not every piece needs to be custom. This is for sure. And this is not what I'm advocating at all. Good candidates for custom would be items like your primary sofa. It's going to get a lot of use. You want it to be perfect. You want it to be that exact cushion that you love and fit you very, very well and fit the room well. Sectionals for sure, just because they are so big, they need to be really customized to the needs of, again, the space and the dimensions there, as well as the people that are sitting on it. Dining tables. Obviously, this one is going to be relative to the size and how many people need to sit where. Beds, again, obviously you've got different size options, but then you've got options for just headboards alone. Or are you going to do an entire bed with a footboard? Are you going to do a canopy bed? Are you going to have a wingback headboard or a tufted headboard? You've got all of those types of options. Banquette seating. And so this is, like a bench that would be upholstered. And so you've got definitely links, corner pieces. So you could have an L-shaped or U-shaped banquette and build that out with a skirt, without a skirt, what types of cushions, do you want it tufted, all those details. And then, of course, statement pieces. And so this is just going to be something that is not even necessarily super custom, but something where you get to, again, have a unique fabric, a unique finish that has been selected out of the thousands of options that are out there that nobody else is going to have that, right? So they're not going to walk in and be like, oh, I saw that, down at Target or on, the showroom floor at the local furniture store. So that's why those pieces are just so much fun, especially when they're going to be the statement pieces in your room. So you want to spend those custom dollars where size and comfort matter most. I think the greatest benefit of custom furniture isn't just the customization, but it's the confidence. It's the confidence of knowing you're making fewer compromises. Because when you're buying off the retail floor, right, you're deciding, well, I love the length of this one, but I like the color of the fabric on this one. Or I like that this one has that skirt on it, but I love the welt cord on this one. And so you're just making compromises back and forth, right? Whereas with custom, you get to have each of those little details that you want. You're also going to have better room flow when the appropriate furniture is selected for the best layout in your specific room. You're going to have the best room flow possible. Better comfort. Again, if you have a larger man in a house and you have selected a very narrow seat for your chairs and for your sofa, or you're selecting furniture that's very low to the ground. There's a lot of pieces out there that are like Our House and Restoration Hardware and those types of big box stores. A lot of their pieces are very low to the ground. They're very uncomfortable when you are tall. It is a lot of space it's like squatting down and then getting back up. And to sit down, your legs can't even sit at a 90-degree angle. They have to sit out in front of you because they're too long to be able to put straight down on the floor. So it's just details like this that make furniture uncomfortable for people. And that's not what you want when you're investing money in this stuff. Better longevity. Well, of course, if it's more comfortable, if it fits the room well, if it fits the people well, it's going to stay around a lot longer. It also, you know that if you are working with a great interior designer, you are getting investment quality pieces. They are not going to fall apart. Even in 20 years, they shouldn't be falling apart. They should last beyond that. When a room feels effortless, it's usually because someone spent considerable effort planning it. So the next time you walk into a room where it is just beautifully designed, everything feels perfectly balanced, don't assume that it's just because the homeowner had a bigger budget. They may have simply made smarter decisions. Custom furniture isn't about showing off. It's about creating pieces that belong in a space, rather than merely occupying it. Great design happens when furniture fits the room. Exceptional design happens when the furniture feels like it was made for the room, because it was. I'll see you on the next episode, my friends. Thanks for joining me on Charm and Circumstance. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow along on Instagram, because charm is personal and circumstance is what you make of it.